Hey Double Dutch fam, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and in today's tutorial we are going to be doing a crochet along, and today's pattern is going to be our sunflower frog. Now for this pattern you can choose to just do the frog portion, or you can add the sunflower petals for a little bit of flair. So let's gather our supplies and we can get started. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using a combination of baby snuggle yarn and honey bunny yarn from Hobby. These are my go-to yarns, my absolutely favorite yarns. So I'm going to be using this lime green color for the body of the frog. The yellow is going to be for my sunflower petals, and the white is going to be for the belly plate. I'm also going to be using my 5.5mm crochet hook. I have my darning needle, a stitch marker, some scissors, some safety eyes. These are 12mm safety eyes. We'll need some fabric pins and some fiber fill. So once we have all of our supplies gathered, we can get into it. All right, so to begin, we are going to start off with our color A yarn, the green. You can also make your frog in brown or pink or whatever color you want, but I'm going to do green today. And to start this pattern, we are going to start off with a magic ring. And within the magic ring, we are going to place 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and pull tight. There is round 1. Now I'm just going to grab my stitch marker. I personally just like to use a scrap strand of yarn. That just works for me, but you can use whatever you like. And we will move on to round 2. So for round 2, we are going to do an increase stitch in each stitch around. And an increase stitch is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So we'll insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And then going right back into that exact same stitch, we're going to place another single crochet. We're going to do that all the way around, so 2 stitches in each single crochet, and at the end of round 2 you should have 16 stitches. Alright, so moving on to round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and an increase stitch. So single crochet and increase. And we'll repeat that again, single crochet, increase. And we're going to repeat that a total of 8 times. And our stitch count at the end of round 3 should be 24. All right, moving on to round 4, we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So single crochet 24. 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will finish this round off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 5. All right, now moving on to round 5, we're doing a combination single crochet 3 and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase. So 2 stitches in 1. Then we're going to repeat that. 1, 2, 3, increase. And we're going to repeat that a total of 6 times. 2, 3, increase. And your stitch count at the end of round 5 should be 30. 2, 3, decrease. And once more, 1, 2, 3, increase. And that's what we're looking like right now up to round 5. Now, moving on for rounds 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, so 5 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 30. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 5 rounds. So I'm going to complete these rounds off camera, and I will meet you back here at the end of round 10, and we will move on to round 11. All right, so this is what we're looking like up to round 10. Now, moving on to round 11, we're going to start decreasing down. So for round 11, we're going to do the combination single crochet 3 and a decrease. So 1, 2, 3. And for the decrease, I like to do an invisible decrease. So that means you're going to grab the front loop of this first stitch and the front loop of the next stitch, yarn over and pull through both loops, yarn over and pull through. So you just turned 2 stitches into 1. And now we're going to repeat that. 1, 2, 3, decrease, front loops. And we're going to repeat this a total of 6 times for a stitch count of 24 at the end of this round. All right, and that is round 11. Now for round 12, we're going to do 24 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for round 12. I will complete this round off camera and I'll meet you back here for the next step. All right, so once we have completed up to round 12, we are going to start to stuff our body. So I'm just going to grab some fiber fill here. Now we're going to stuff again in a row or 2, so this isn't your final stuff, but I just like to get my base going. And I just like to kind of sweep my stuffing out to the sides. So that's kind of what we're looking like. And now we're going to move on to round 13. And for round 13, we're going to do another decrease round, and it's going to be single crochet 2 and a decrease. Now you may find that it's harder to crochet into now that we've stuffed it a little, so just take your time. Decrease. And we're going to repeat this 6 times, and our stitch count should be 18 at the end of round 13. There we go. That is round 13. For round 14, we're going to do single crochet 18. So 1 single crochet in each stitch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now we can add a little bit more stuffing here if you'd like. And then we will move on to round 15. And for round 15, we're going to do the combination single crochet, decrease. Single crochet, decrease. All the way around. We're repeating this 6 times, so you should have a stitch count of 12 at the end of round 15. Decrease, single crochet, decrease, and once more single crochet, decrease. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit more stuffing here. And then for our very last round, we're going to do a full decrease round. So 6 decrease stitches all the way around. And your stitch count at the end of round 16 should be 6. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just going to remove my stitch marker. And I just like to make a little slip stitch right to the next stitch here. Cut some yarn. Pull that all the way through, and that will just make a little knot. Now we do have the smallest hole ever, but I'm just going to add a little bit more stuffing so that the top here is full, but you just have to work it a little bit more because the hole's so small. And then once you're happy with that, I'm going to grab another crochet hook. This is just a 3.75. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go under the front loop of each stitch, yarn over and pull through my tail. Under the front loop, yarn over and pull through. And this is going to just close up that final round for us. You can just pull it a little bit, just like that. And then I usually just like to place a little knot here as well, just for extra security. Just like that. And then I'm just going to weave in my yarn end here. And there we have the body of our frog. All right, moving on, we are going to start making the eye. So again, we're going to need our color A yarn for this. The eyes are super simple, they work up really quickly. So we're going to start off with a magic ring. And inside our magic ring, we're going to place 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we're just going to pull that tail. I'm just going to grab my stitch marker here, and we're going to move on to round 2. So for round 2 of the eye, we're going to be doing an increase round. So an increase is 2 stitches in 1, so we're going to do that in each stitch around. So you should have a total of 12 stitches at the end of round 2. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now for rounds 3 and 4, so 2 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 12. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Just like that. And I'm just going to remove my stitch marker here, and again I'm just going to place a slip stitch into this very next stitch, and I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut about 12 inches. I always like to cut a little bit more than I probably need for sewing on, just in case, especially with this yarn, because it does fall apart on you the more you sew with it. You'll lose more yarn, so I just like to have a little bit of extra. So there is our eye. Now we're going to need 2 of these, so just go back and re-watch this portion of the video to make the second eye, and then I'll meet you back here to attach them onto that body. Alright, so I have made 2 eyes here, and so far I've just stuffed with my yarn tail. We will add a little bit of stuffing once we sew it on the body, but for now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our safety eyes, and we're going to attach them to the eyes before we attach the eyes to the body. So basically we're going to attach the eyes to rounds 3 and 4. So 1, 2, so between rows 3 and 4 we're going to stick our eye in, and we're just going to attach our backing on. Just like that. We'll do that on both. I just have the sewing on strand at the back, so it's the same for both eyes in the front. Just like that. And there we have our 2 eyes. So now we're going to grab our body again, and I will just zoom you out a little bit so we can see. And we're also going to need some fabric pins for this part. So what we're going to do here is we're going to place our eyes on rounds 2 to 5 on the top of the head, and they're going to be slightly more forward on the top of the head, so they're not going to be fully centered, maybe just a tad forward. So we have round 1, so this is round 2. So sometimes I just like to mark with a fabric pin 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on this side, 2, which is right here, 3, 4, 5. So there is where my eyes are going to sit. And then I'm going to take my eye here, and I'm just going to place it as I see. Again, we're going to stuff once we've sewn on a bit, so don't worry. And I'm just going to do it ever so slightly more forward than center. It doesn't have to be fully more forward, but I'm just going to secure that with some fabric pins. Now I'm gonna roughly just take a look here with my other eye. I usually just like to sew on one at a time, just because once I put this one on, I find it falls off once I'm trying to sew on the other one, and it just gets all confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my darning needle here and attach my yarn end, and I'm just going to start sewing on this eye before I attach the other one. But I'm happy with the eye placement. It's facing forward. This is going to be my belly. So I'm going to just start sewing this on. All right, so once I'm about half to 3/4 of the way sewn on, I'm gonna start stuffing my eye. Now, like I said, I already stuffed a little bit with the yarn tail, so it really shouldn't need too much, but I'm just gonna add a little bit of stuffing now before I fully close off my eye. And I'm happy with that. And you can see here, this is what I mean by the yarn just kind of falls apart when you're sewing on. So once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to continue on using my markers here still to make sure that I'm in the right spot and I'm still crocheting into the right rows that I want. Because sometimes you just can get carried away with sewing on and all of a sudden you're nowhere near where you originally were. And then I'm just going to create a little knot here. And I'm just going to push this to the back. You can see this is what I'm talking about, all the yarn kind of got lost there. I'm just going to pull this a little bit. I'm going to cut this yarn just a little bit here. I don't need that much. And there we have one eye attached. So we're just going to repeat that the exact same way on the other side. Sew it on. Once you're about halfway to 3/4 sewn on, just stuff a little bit and then push your yarn tail back to the back, tie a little knot and weave in your ends. So I'm going to complete this off camera and I'll meet you back here once our eyes are sewn on. All right, so this is what we're looking like right now. I just sewed on both of my eyes and I'm happy with what they look like, and now we're ready to move on. So I'm going to start now with my color C yarn, which is the white. And with the white, we're going to be making the belly plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my magic ring to start. And within the magic ring, I'm going to place 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And pull that tight. And there is round 1 complete. I'm going to place my stitch marker, and I just grabbed a black strand because my other one was white and it'd be hard to see, I think. So moving on to round 2, we're going to be doing an increase round again. So increase round, 2 single crochets in each stitch around. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you should have a total of 12 stitches at the end of round 2. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Next, we're going to do another increase round. So we're going to do the combination single crochet in one stitch and an increase in the next. Single crochet and increase. So 2 single crochets in one. And we're going to repeat this 6 times. And your stitch count at the end of round 3 should be 18. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and then one more time, single crochet and increase. Now our 4th and final round of the belly plate, we're going to do a single crochet 18. So that's 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Just going to remove my stitch marker and again place a slip stitch into the very next stitch. And for this guy, I'm going to cut a bit longer of a strand, probably maybe 16 inches or so for sewing on. And there is our belly plate. So now I'm just going to grab my body and I'm just going to, bring you out a little bit so you can see. Now our tummy plate here is going to sit on rounds 7 to 12. So I'm just going to count down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 7. I'll place a little marker there. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is kind of where it should be sitting, right in the center between the eyes. I'm just going to cut my yarn tail a little bit in the center because we don't want to stuff this section. So I don't want to add any extra height to it. And I'm just going to roughly place this. And I want to just make sure that I'm centered. Between the eyes. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to just place my pins a little bit further back. That way that they're not in the way when I'm sewing it on. So kind of like that. And again, I just want to make sure that my marker's right here. So I'm just maybe a tad over. And that's going to happen depending on how your tension. So my tension for the body may have been just a little bit tighter than my tension for the tummy plate, but that's totally okay. The rows where it sits is really just a guide. It's not a hard and fast rule. So just do what you think looks best. If you think it's better a little bit higher, then do that. It's your project, so you have to make it what you want it to be. So once I'm happy with the placement of my tummy, I'm just going to start sewing it on. I just put my yarn tail here on my darning needle. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to do every stitch around to sew it on. All right, and once our tummy plate is sewn on, I'm just going to create a little knot here. And I'm just going to push that to the underside of the body. And I'm not going to fully cut this, I'm just going to trim it because I'm going to try and, I always like to knot to another strand of yarn as well. So like once we do the legs and stuff, I might knot that again. But there is our tummy plate attached. Just going to pull that out a little bit. I accidentally pulled through some of the stuffing, so just pull that through. And there is our frog up to this point. All right, so for our next step, we're going to do some detailing. Now, of course, I didn't tell you that you needed this yarn and the supplies because I always forget these things, but we're going to need a bit of white yarn, and we're going to also need a little bit of black medium weight yarn. Sorry about that, it wouldn't be a video if I didn't forget something. So we're going to start off with the black yarn, and this is going to be for the smile. Now, of course, it doesn't have to be black. If you prefer a different color, then you can absolutely do that. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to insert our needle here. 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds down from the top of the head, approximately 2 to 3 stitches away from the eyes, depending on where you placed your eyes. Everybody's is going to be a little bit different, and I'm just going to pull my yarn here. Of course, I grabbed a little bit of stuffing. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to insert the needle 1 row down and about 2 stitches over right here. Then we're going to push it up 1 to 2 stitches over and up 1 round to be again about 2 to 3 stitches away from your eye, depending on where you sewed it on. I'm just going to do that. Then we're going to go right back into this center piece, and I'm going to push my yarn over to where we started. And there is our little smile. So I'm just going to take my scissors and trim this yarn here. I'm going to tie a little knot, but nothing too tight because I don't want to change the shape of our smile. And then with a smaller crochet hook, I'm just going to grab those ends and weave them in. There we go. And if the weaving in process pulled your smile, you can just pull it back out again. And there's the smile completed. Now we're going to take our white yarn and we're going to do some eye detailing. So what we're going to do is with our white yarn, we're going to insert up into the very top of the eye. Oopsies, pulled it right through. As close to the eye as you can get. Then we're going to insert it into the bottom and push it out to where we started. Now we want it to sit kind of on the outside. We're just adding a little like highlight to the eye. So it's just going to sit on the outside of the eye there, like that. And then I'm just going to tie this off. And I'm going to weave in my ends. So just like that. And then I'm going to just repeat that on the other side as well. On my darning needle here. And now the key is to make them even. And I will tell you that sometimes it takes me a few tries to get them the same. So if you have to do it a few times, well, I guess that's just part of it all. And I want to be as close as I can to the top. And then into the bottom and over. Oh, that's not too bad actually for the first try. Pretty happy with that. So I will just tie a little knot here. I'll just cut this yarn a little so they're even, and then I'm just going to weave those in. Now it got pulled a little bit during that, so I'm just gonna bring it back out again. And there is our face details complete. All right, moving on, we're going to start on the eye, or the arms, sorry. So for the arms, again, a really super easy, quick part of this project. We're going to start off with a magic ring with our green yarn again, or whatever yarn you used for the body. This already doesn't want to pull. I always have sometimes the worst luck with my magic rings with this yarn because it gets caught so easily. So sometimes I have to redo it a few times. There we go. So to start off for the arm, we are going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And let's hope this pulls. There we go. Perfect. Oopsies. And I'm just going to place my stitch marker there. Now for round 2, which is also the final round, we're just going to do single crochet 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that is our arm. Super easy. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out. I'm going to place my little slip stitch into the next stitch. Is that the same stitch? Yep. Into the next stitch, I'll place my slip stitch. And again, I'm going to cut a tail about 12 inches, and I'm going to pull that through. Now I'm going to stuff this basically with this yarn tail in the center, but it is still too long as it is, so I'm just going to cut it a little bit. And I'm just going to roughly stuff the tail in. If you need to add a little bit of stuffing, you absolutely can. So there is our little arm. We're going to need 2 of these, so just go back and remake another one, and then we will sew them on. All right, so I have created my 2 arms. So now I'm just going to bring my guy back here. Now we're going to sew these guys on. So first, what we're going to do is with my fabric pins, I'm going to mark where I want them to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these on round 7 and 8. So I'm just going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just like that. About 2 rounds it should fit on there. And we want the arm to sit kind of near more the front of the eye versus the back, if that makes sense, like closer to the front of the body versus the back. And you want the arm to be about 4 stitches from the belly plate. So that's kind of how you can gauge where your arm's going to sit. So I'm just going to take one of my arms here and I'm going to just roughly place it. So I'm just going to take a look here. So I'm probably going to do it maybe around there, a little bit more forward. 1, 2, 3, about 4 stitches from the top of the belly plate. And I'm just going to roughly pin this down and just make sure that it's where I want it to be. And I think that that's probably good. And I still have my markers for where the arms are going to be. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to grab my darning needle and I'm going to sew this on. Now you really probably don't need to stuff again, but if you feel like it's not stuffed enough with the yarn tail, feel free to add a little bit more stuffing when you have this sewn on about 3/4 of the way. I'm not going to add any extra stuffing to mine, just because I think that it's thoroughly stuffed. Alrighty. Alright, and then I'm just going to place a little knot here. Like that. And then I'm just going to push this down. I'm going to push it down to meet up with that white strand that I kept so that I could secure it a little bit more. And I'm just going to tie those in a knot. But I'm going to leave them so that I can attach the other arm yarn end as well. So there is one arm completed. So just attach the other arm the exact same way, and then I'll meet you back here for the next step. All right, and that is our arms attached. So now we're going to move on to the legs. So we're going to grab our green yarn again. And for the legs, we're going to create a magic ring. And in the magic ring, we're going to place 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and pull. And again, place our stitch marker. There's round 1. For round 2, we're going to place 8 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to repeat that for round 3. So another 8 single crochets or 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there is our leg. So I'm just going to remove my stitch marker. Again, just place a slip stitch into the next stitch and cut my yarn. And I'll just pull that through. Again, I'm just going to stuff my yarn tail. This guy may need a tiny bit of stuffing once we're sewing on, but I'm just going to stuff my yarn tail in there for now. And again, we're going to need 2 of these, so just go back and make 1 more leg, and then we'll meet back here to sew it on. All right, so here are my 2 legs, and I'm going to just grab our guy again here. Now our legs are going to sit on rounds 11 through 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Just like that. And they're going to sit directly below the arms, just like that. So I'm just going to pin this. Like that. And once I'm happy with the placement of that, I'm going to attach my yarn into my darning needle. And again, I'm just going to sew this on. All right, and before we're fully sewn on here, if you do want to add in a tiny bit of stuffing, you can do that. It shouldn't really need too much, depending on how long your yarn tail was that you stuffed with. All right, I'm just going to continue along. All right, there's our leg sewn on. So I'm just gonna again tie a little knot here and just push that down towards the bottom of the body. And there is one leg. So just sew on the other leg and then we will meet back here. All right, so this is what we're looking like so far. Now, if you just want to stop right here and just have a little frog, then I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. But if you want to add on the sunflower back, the little sunflower round on the back, then keep watching because we're going to work on the sunflower petals next. All right, so for the sunflower petals, we're going to be using whatever color you want. I'm just going to use classic yellow. And to start, I'm going to be making a magic ring. And in this magic ring, I'm going to place 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just going to grab my stitch marker. Now, moving on to round 2, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and increase. So single crochet and increase. And I know working into 4 stitches can be really difficult. As you can see, I'm also having difficulties getting into both loops of my stitches. So just take your time and do an increase stitch here, a single crochet, and an increase. That should be the hardest round they should get easier from there. All right, moving on to round 3, we're going to do that again, a combination single crochet and an increase, but this time we're going to repeat it 3 times, and our stitch count should now be 9 at the end of round 3. Here we go. All right, for round 4, we're going to do single crochet 2, 1, 2, and an increase. So 2 stitches in 1, and we'll repeat this 3 times. Single crochet 2 and an increase. And we should have 12 stitches at the end of round 4. And an increase. So there is up to round 4 completed. Now for rounds 5 and 6, we're going to place 12 single crochets in each stitch around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we'll just repeat that one more time. All right, and that is up to round 6. So now for round 7, which is also our final round, we're just going to do a full decrease round. So 1 decrease stitch in each of the 2 stitches. So we're going to do 6 decreases for a total stitch count of 6 at the end of round 7. Remove my stitch marker, place a slip stitch. I'm going to cut my yarn, and I'm also going to cut and trim my yarn tail from the magic ring. Pull that through, and I'm just going to stuff this guy in. And there we have one of our petals. Now, the amount of petals that you're going to have to make is going to be dependent on how big and how loose your tension is, or how tight your tension is. I find I usually need about 8 to 9 of these petals. So I would just go make 8 more at least, or 7 more at least on top of this one. And then if you have to make another one, then you can do that. And so once you've made all of those petals, we will meet back here and attach them. All right, so once we have all 9 or however many petals you need, we're just going to quickly keep them, make a little knot here to keep them flat. So right now, if you pinch them, they kind of open up like a light bulb. So what we want to do is we want to keep them flat. We want to make them keep their shape like this, so that they're kind of concave. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a darning needle and our leaf, one of our petals, and with the darning needle and some of our yellow yarn, I'm just going to go up through about 1, 2, 3, round 4 of our petal in the center. I'm just going to pull that through, and then I'm going to go down 1 row and through to the back and pull that through. Now I'm just going to cut these so that they're even. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to tie a knot on the back, and that's going to keep the center here pulled in. Then I'm just going to take my smaller crochet hook. This is my 4mm, and I'm just going to pull those tails through to the bottom opening And then I'm just going to trim them so they're hidden. Just like that. Now you're just going to repeat that on all of your leaves and your petals, and then we will meet back here to sew it all together. All right, so we're going to grab our frog that we've made so far, and we're going to grab the first of our sunflower petals. Now I like to place the centered one first, right between the eyes. This one's going to go right down the center of the body, just like that. So I'm just going to attach my darning needle to my yarn tail here. And I'm just going to have some fabric pins here. Now, if you find it easier, you can sew together this edge. If you find it easier to sew on, I personally don't notice a difference, and it's more work to sew it on, so I just leave it. But if that's a preference for you, then yeah, do that before. But I'm just gonna roughly place this like that. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm just gonna sew this on. And there we go. Then I'm just going to tie a little knot in the back here. And I'm just going to push my yarn down somewhere in the body. And I'll leave it there so I can tie it off to another petal. And there is our first petal completed. So now we're just going to go around. So I'm going to do the next one. It's going to go right behind the eye. Now it's not going to be perfectly in line in the back depending on where you placed it. But I'm just going to push mine as much towards the eye as I can. And again, I'm just going to repeat the process. I'm going to pin it down and I'm going to sew it on. I personally like to do one in the center, and then I'll do this one and then this side as well, and then I'll do this side and this side, just so I'm staying symmetrical with my petals. And then I'll just work my way all the way around until all the petals are attached. So just complete all your petals and sew them on, and on the back it should be a circle so it looks like the center of a sunflower, and you shouldn't be able to see any of the frog eyes, arms, or legs. All right, and there we have our sunflower frog with all the petals sewn on. So this is what the back of mine looks like after I weaved in all the ends. And there you go. I really hope you guys enjoyed this pattern. Make sure to tag us on Instagram if you do end up making this. Our Instagram is Double Dutch Crochet Co. We hope you guys have a lovely day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!